so I am sitting here with an individual that we have get to know for quite a while now. He gave a speech last night. You gave a speech a few months ago at Northeastern in Oakland at the Mills Institute. One of the most humbled individuals. I will not go through the entire list of his accomplishments because it's just too many. But he, after yesterday evening when we invited him to speak, and he needed to be in, is it Chicago today? Where you need to be tonight? Is it Chicago?
No, back in Marin.
Oh, back in Marin, okay. So he's like, well, I'm doing this, and then he calls me a week later and he says, what is happening the day after? So, well, we have a conference, Remarkable Women in AI, and who is the audience? Well, it's students, it's females and whatever, and he insisted to actually come back here in the morning to actually talk to all of you. So he insisted to come here and spend his time, and then he's flying home
because
right after.
I'm looking to hire
exactly
remarkable women in AI. I mean, hello.
That's correct. So just a very quick introduction, so you have an idea with whom we are talking to here, and then we are talking very much about AI and medicine, and particularly AI and longevity, and as you said this morning, particularly longevity as it relates to female. So we can probably, including myself, we can learn a lot today about longevity for females. But let me explain to you a little bit who this gentleman is. So just bear with me. Dr. Larry Brilliant is a physician and an epidemiologist, board certified in preventive medicine and CEO of EVT Technologies. And I will get back to that in a second, what that actually means. A startup focused on AI-driven health span innovation. From 1973 to 1980, he served as the World Health Organization medical officer in India and was instrumental in the success smallpox eradication campaign worldwide. He later co-founded the SIVA Foundation, which has helped restore sight to over 10 million people in more than 24 countries. In the 80s, he pivoted to technology for public good, co-founded The Well, and leading 2 public companies. He was the first head of Google.org, and later CEO of the Skull Global Threats Funds. He has served on the boards of Google.org, Salesforce.org, and the Skull Foundation. During COVID-19, he advised governments, foundations, and the World Health Organization, and served as CEO of Penn Defense Advisory. His honors include the TED Prize, the Time 100, and the UN Global Leadership Award. And if I remember correctly, you have been the CNN analyst through the COVID, and you spent, I don't know how many years in the field and helping them to report. Okay, so this gentleman is not only, and I'm going back to what I just said about the CEO of EVT Technologies that he co-founded with this, look at him, 80 years old. Is that amazing or what? Yes. So for all the young students here, right? The sky is the limit, and whatever is up here, you can make it happen. So age is not an issue. He is the living proof of that. That's why I wanted to point this out. Do you want to add anything to that, or I would just go right into the question?
I'm going to be 81 in 3 weeks.
Oh, sorry, okay. He's going to be 81 in 3 years. So we are talking about AI medicine and AI and longevity. Let me start by quoting Arthur C. Clarke, who said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishably from magic. We are witnessing 2 rapid changing technologies, AI and medicine, who are coming together, as we all know right now. While truly magical, do you think that they will get along with each other? And I'm reading this now out. You turned 80 last year. You're turning 81 in 3 weeks. I was just learned. There was a fork in the road on that led to early retirement of golf and travel, and another, and decided more audaciously, one which is starting up a new company. First, tell us what you made you take this hard route. Second, tell us more about the company that you created. What's your vision, and what are the hopes for it? And then you talk about longevity.
Well, first I want to talk about you.
Okay.
Thank you so much for bringing me here, and thank you for bringing all of us here. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
Caroline and everybody else.
And Caroline, we're really lucky. And I work a lot with Northeastern. My company works with the Institute for Experiential AI. We recently hired one of your top graduates, and she has solved a heretofore never solved problem in medical data science. So I'm thrilled to work with Osama and Sam Scarpino and these wonderful folks that you have there. So we have these two advanced technologies that are indistinguishable from magic. We all know that AI is indistinguishable from magic. I'm not sure that people understand that medicine, medical science, has now become indistinguishable from magic. I urge you to read a book called Why We Die by Venki Ramakrishnan, who won the Nobel Prize for Medicine for his unpacking of the role of ribosomes in the human cell. When I went to medical school, we thought these little things that were cellular inclusions were invaders from outer space. What the hell were they doing in our cells? Now we're beginning to understand the cadence of what happens when you age, why it looks like things gang up on us as we get older, and why and how we can avoid them. And with respect to these two magical events that are going on in your lifetime, they are not equally distributed. And they're certainly not equally distributed between men and women. Let's talk a little bit about that. And I'm glad that you called me an ally. I think I first became an ally about 35 years ago when I was running a public company called SoftNet Technologies. We introduced something to the world called 802.10. You've never heard of that before, but it's Wi-Fi.
Not yet.
And I was invited to give a keynote talk at Comdex. Most of you have never heard of that either.
Probably not.
But it was a big deal a long time ago, yeah, along with dinosaurs and the Pleistocene. And I was invited by a group called Geek Girls. How many of you heard of Geek Girls? So I was the first speaker at a Geek Girl conference at Comdex. So it helped me to understand that the distribution in those days of engineers between men and women was 95-5. Idiotic. So I've been interested in this for a very long time. When the pandemic began to ebb and I didn't have to sit in front of Anderson Cooper, not knowing what the hell he was going to ask me a question in front of millions of people live on television, and I didn't have to wake up every morning and read science on viral evolution, I started thinking more and more about longevity. Let me give you some data. In the last 100 years, in America, life expectancy has doubled from around 40 to around 80. A friend of mine and I, Stephen Berlin Johnson, did a PBS special on that. It's a 4-part series, and it's called An Extra Life. If you're interested in knowing why and how life expectancy doubled, take a look at that. But the interesting thing to me wasn't that life expectancy had doubled, was that sick span, which you've never heard of, which is the gap between health span, years of healthy life, and longevity, had not only increased as much as life expectancy, but it had gone from 1 year, 100 years ago, one year. 100 years ago, we died at 40 and we lived 1 year unhealthy. Today, we live 12.5 years in sick span, unhealthy. And think for a moment, just pause, think about your parents, think about your grandparents, think about your cousins, your uncles, the people you all know people who have spent the last years of their life, more than a decade, in sick span. That is not equally distributed. Women, if it's 12.5 years, women spend 14 years in sick span, men 9. Why is it? Because the things that cause us to get ill and die or lose health are different in men and women, and there's about 4 or 5 major differences. Number one, Alzheimer's and dementia, 2/3 to 3/4 women. Chronic fatigue syndrome, long COVID, long Epstein-Barr disease, 2/3 to 3/4 women. Osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, broken hips, 2/3 women. And despair, 2/3 women. And despair is not mental illness. Despair is a modern phenomenon. It is a normal reaction to a fucked up world. It's when you lose your family, you lose a child, you lose a job, you lose your house, you're out on the street, whatever it is that causes despair. So I thought if I did some small regression analyses and looked at unpacking the causes of sick span, the causes of that loss of healthy longevity, and I unpacked it, then I could create a company that hired super specialists in each of those areas, which I've done. So obviously some of them are obvious. The cardiology professor that you've got to get, the cancer curator, the Nobel Prize winner, Jim Allison, is my cancer curator. Pediatrics is a big part of that. But I populated my AI by having it trained as a physician. It's trained as if it were a medical student in a 4-year medical education. Then it's trained by specialists in these 15 areas. That's just the beginning. Then we make a digital twin of you, and we put targets, parameters on you, and we then track all of this underused resource that there is in the world of all these longitudinal databases. We have 25 million de-identified health records, and we try to find people like you who lived, who are the age you are now 20 years ago. And then we do what we cutely call a retrospective, prospective, in silico study in epidemiology. That's what we're doing. We're trying to build a company that can unpack the things that you can do to promote longer years of healthy life and shorten the period of sick span. And as I said, it's a big deal for women. Yesterday I told everybody that how horrible I felt. I'm board certified in preventive medicine. When my wife was perimenopause, those were old times, I told her to avoid estrogen replacement therapy. Because in those days, we were told that estrogen replacement therapy was carcinogenic. I was not alone in making that mistake. Now we know for every year a woman postpones menopause with estrogen replacement therapy, she increases health span by 3 years. That's a hell of a bargain. Why the hell didn't I know that? And why didn't my peers know that? Because the research isn't done. So I'll end this part of it. Until 12 years ago, women were not involved in or recruited for or part of any of the FDA clinical trials. What? So basically, women have been overdosed by most antibiotics and medications by about 30, 40%, all during that period of time. And here's even worse. When my friend Francis Collins